Let's start with something simple but terrifying. What if you are already being replaced and you don't even know it yet? Not by a person, not by an offshore team, but by a system, a generative model, a digital agent, not in the future but today. While most people are still busy debating whether artificial intelligence will eventually affect their jobs, others are quietly adapting, evolving, and even thriving, right in the middle of what might be the most radical shift the labor market has ever seen. Welcome to episode 54 of the Change Dude podcast. I'm your host, Saeed Rafay, and today we are talking about how to future-proof your tech career in the age of generative AI and agentic AI. Not just how to survive it, but how to build with it. This is not a theoretical conversation. This is about livelihood, your identity, and your relevance in a world that increasingly doesn't need humans to perform tasks, but desperately needs humans to direct intelligence. Let's unpack what's happening and what you can do about it. We have always had tools, from hammers to IDEs to CI/CD pipelines. The entire history of software development is the story of humans offloading complexity to external systems. But something is different now. Generative AI doesn't just assist, it creates. It doesn't just speed up a developer's job, it can replace entire workflows, entire teams, sometimes entire departments. You write a prompt and it writes 10 classes. You sketch a user flow and it gives you an interactive prototype. What once took weeks now takes seconds. And yet, even that is no longer the cutting edge. What's coming, what's already in experimental deployment, is agentic AI. These are not models that wait for your input. These are agents that take initiative, monitor environments, make autonomous decisions, and execute sequences of tasks on their own. So the question is no longer whether AI will replace coders, developers, and other tech careers. The question is whether you will become the coordinator of intelligence or just an outdated interface. The traditional approach to career growth in tech is straightforward. Learn a stack, build a portfolio, get better over time. Move from junior to mid to senior. Maybe become a lead or architect. Maybe start a startup. That narrative worked for 2 decades. But the assumption behind this path was that human learning curves were the only learning curves that mattered. That if you got better at React or Kubernetes or Python, you would become more valuable. The problem now is that machines improve faster than you do, not linearly, exponentially. A language model doesn't need sleep, an agent doesn't have imposter syndrome, a generative system doesn't worry about burnout, and when it gets better, every developer using it gets better instantly. That's a curve you cannot beat by sheer effort. So we need to redefine value. Being good at stack is no longer a differentiator. It's a commodity. What matters now is meta skill, pattern recognition, judgment, vision, the ability to integrate tools, not just use them. This might be the most important mental shift you need to make. Artificial intelligence isn't coming for your job. A person who knows how to use AI better than you is coming for your job. The gap won't be technical. It will be strategic. Imagine 2 engineers, both with the same baseline skills. One uses GenAI to automate repetitive coding, test generation, documentation, and even architecture suggestions. The other does everything manually. The delta between them over time is massive. One becomes 5x, the other becomes replaceable. This isn't about turning every developer into a prompt engineer. This is about fluency, about integrating GenAI and Agentic AI into your daily workflows to amplify, not just replicate, your capabilities. It's not enough to use these tools occasionally. You need to reimagine what your work is when these tools are not optional add-ons, but fundamental building blocks of your productivity. As GenAI and agents become more sophisticated, we are entering an era where thinking in systems becomes more valuable than thinking in functions. You don't need to handwrite every line of code, but you do need to know how the system works, how the components fit, what the trade-offs are, how to scaffold an idea into viable architecture. The emerging elite in this AI-dominated world are not the most technically gifted in the traditional sense. They're the ones who can take a vague user goal and map it to a set of AI agents, tools, APIs, and workflows, then test, iterate, and deploy quickly. They are fluent in context switching, in managing ambiguity, in prompt engineering not as a hack, but as a design discipline. They think about intent, not just output. They think in scenarios, not scripts. And they use these tools like GPT, GitHub Copilot, LangChain, and AutoGen not just as productivity hacks, but as team members with very specific roles. Let's say you are building a web app in 2025. You don't start with a blank canvas. You describe the user journey. You ask an AI to scaffold the front end in your preferred framework. You describe the backend logic, and the agent creates your API endpoints and database schema. You request test coverage, and it generates those too. You connect it to a CI/CD pipeline, again via an AI assistant. Your role, not typing code, but orchestrating workflows, managing constraints, ensuring quality, designing the user experience, managing data flows, handling security and compliance, asking the right questions. This is the new role of the developer. Or maybe we shouldn't call it that anymore. Maybe it's time to retire that word and replace it with orchestrator of intelligence systems. It's less catchy, but more accurate. If you're early in your career or trying to make a shift, here's the hard truth. You can no longer afford to learn in isolation from GenAI and agent-based tools. If your learning path doesn't integrate these systems as native components, you are setting yourself up for obsolescence. So instead of mastering just one framework, learn how to build systems with tools like GPT-4, Claude, Gemini, and other open source LLMs. Learn how to build simple agents that can reason and act. Learn how to structure prompts, iterate, evaluate, and refine. Learn how to use vector databases, embeddings, and retrieval augmented generation. But more than that, learn how to think. Learn how to abstract. Learn how to design user flows, align features to goals, and reduce friction. Learn how to reason about what matters, because that's what the machines still struggle with, and that's where your future lies. One of the most damaging ways to look at GenAI is through a scarcity lens. That it's stealing jobs, that it's narrowing the field, that it's making you redundant. That might be true if you do nothing. But the right mindset is not scarcity, it's multiplication. Imagine if you could produce 5 projects instead of 1, test 10 ideas in a month, iterate on designs, marketing, copywriting, development, and deployment, all in the same week. You can now think and act like a studio, not a solo developer or software engineer. That's leverage. And this era belongs to those who use leverage wisely. So stop trying to protect what you were. Start building what you could be. The systems are here. The agents are learning. The next wave of tech careers will belong to those who multiply their creative force through these tools, not hide from them. There are 3 domains where humans will remain not just relevant but essential, at least for the foreseeable future. The first is taste. Machines can generate, but only humans can choose what's worth generating. Taste is about discernment, quality, emotion, and it's about knowing when something is good, not just functional. The second is ethics. Agents can make decisions, but they don't understand impact. They don't understand responsibility. Humans must remain in the loop when it comes to moral judgment, social implications, and consequences of automated choices. The third is narrative. Machines don't tell stories. They can generate scripts, sure, but they don't feel meaning. They don't understand the arc of human aspiration. Every product, every company, every feature, even every line of code exists in a story. Your ability to create and communicate that story is a superpower. So if you want to future-proof your career, develop taste, strengthen your ethical compass, learn how to shape narratives, and how to tell better stories. Because AI may be able to build faster, but only humans can build better in the ways that matter. This is a phrase floating around right now, and I mentioned it earlier, that AI won't replace you, but someone who knows how to use AI will. It has been repeated so much, it's starting to sound like a slogan. But that doesn't make it less true. The good news is, it's not too late. The window is still open, the tools are still in testing, the playing field is still wild and uneven. There is still time to learn, adapt, and reposition yourself. But that window is closing fast. Don't wait for the job market to force you to adapt. Don't wait until your resume is outdated. Don't wait until your skills are measured by pre-AI standards. Act now, experiment now, build small projects with AI, reimagine your workflows, collaborate with agents, think in prompts, design with intent. Your future in tech is not guaranteed, but it can be earned, not through fear, but through bold adaptation. Not by clinging to what worked yesterday, but by leaning into what's emerging today. This is not the end of developers, it's the end of a certain kind of developer and certain kind of tech careers, and the beginning of something entirely new. That's it for this episode of the Change Dude podcast. I am Saeed Rafay, and I hope this gave you clarity and maybe a jolt of urgency about where your career needs to go. If you found this useful, please share it with someone who is stuck in the old paradigm or someone who is just entering tech and needs a new roadmap. And as always, stay curious, stay flexible, stay human. See you in the next episode.